Hey friend, please subscribe. 1 second for you. Big deal for me.
I saw him first. Nathan, straight-backed in a custom-cut midnight suit, standing under glass chandeliers like the room had been built around him. 14 years. That's how long it had been since I'd walked out of Riverton and swore I wouldn't look back. 4 weeks since a white envelope with a gold crest showed up at my office. His name on the return label, Nathan Stratfield. I was 32, founder of Merrick Strat Lab, a company I built from a $400 loan and a cracked laptop, and yet the second I walked into the Riverton Grand, I felt 17 again, except this time, I wasn't invisible. Before we start, tell us which city or country you're listening from. Let's see which corners of the world we've gathered from today. Thanks. And now the story. The ballroom gleamed like it was dipped in money. Orchids in tight spirals, staff in black tie, music soft but surgical. The kind of place where people clink glasses and call it legacy. Nathan spotted me across the crowd. I watched the smile freeze mid-face. "Dylan?" he said when I reached them, like someone had just rolled a gravestone off the family plot. Sloan Danner stood next to him, unreadable. Trim navy dress, sharp eyes, hair tied back like she didn't have time for games. I knew the type. I also knew the name. "Do you two know each other?" Nathan asked, trying to smile through it. I kept my hands in my pockets. "More than you think. I'm his older twin by 7 minutes. I swear 2 people actually dropped their drinks. My father, Logan Stratfield, materialized from nowhere. Same squared jaw, same no-nonsense walk. Dylan, this is unexpected." That boardroom tone still made me want to punch a wall. Mom stood behind him, Kara in pearls and silence. She came in for a hug, but it was airlight. "You look well," she said, not meeting my eyes. "Congrats, you two." I nodded to the couple. "You look solid." I didn't come here to ruin anything. I came to remind them I existed. Tyler Greer, Sloane's assistant, leaned in from nowhere. "Your place card was moved," he muttered. "Table 19. Capacity issues." I laughed under my breath. "Sure. Classic. Dad was always good at cutting you out with a smile and a seating chart." The band started a slow number. Sloane slipped away from Nathan. She walked like someone used to owning space. I followed, not pushing, just walking near. She turned. "If you came for drama, don't waste my night." "I didn't," I said. "I came with terms." Her mouth twitched, just slightly. No flinch, no flutter. That told me everything. She wasn't some ribbon-wrapped debutante. She was infrastructure, strategy, the kind who reads a man faster than his resume. Nathan had picked well, or been picked. I wasn't sure yet. Behind me, I could already hear the whisper lines starting. Guests shifting chairs with their eyes, recalculating their family math. I stayed calm, made no scene, just stood there like a ledger entry they forgot to erase. When I turned back, Logan was watching me, arms crossed, jaw tight. Mom whispered something I couldn't hear. Nathan was talking to a banker with a white vest and fake laugh. I spotted Sloane again across the dance floor. She wasn't looking at me, but she wasn't not looking either. That's when I knew this night wouldn't be sentimental. It would be clinical. Brooke Foster didn't waste time. She was leaning against the bar before I got there, already 2 steps ahead of me, neat club soda in hand. "You'll want a clear head," she said, handing it over like she was doing me a favor and a test all at once. I remembered her, sharp-witted, no pretense, ran numbers for Dad back when Merrick Urban Partners was still pretending to care about community equity. She'd walked away 6 years ago, and nobody ever said why. That made her interesting. "What's your play here?" I asked, straight. She tilted her head toward the ballroom. "Riverline smells off," she said. "Looks clean in the pitch deck, but underneath? Cut corners, copied models, red ink KPIs trying to pass for green. Not tech, not system flaws, just bad math." That part hit. I speak math. She flagged the bartender without words, slid a second club soda in front of me like she knew I wouldn't be drinking. I caught a glimpse of the old Brooke then, the analyst who could smell a cooked projection 3 cells deep into a spreadsheet. Tyler floated by, clipboard in one hand, phone in the other, and said low, "Heads up, you've officially been reassigned to table 19, back corner, by the fire exit." I laughed into my drink. "Of course." He leaned a little closer. "Used to temp at Merrick Urban. Ethics didn't match the brochures." That made me pause. He said it soft, almost like he didn't want to be heard saying it, but he wanted it known. I nodded once. Noted. Sloane was working the other end of the ballroom like a surgeon. I watched her handle a hedge fund aunt and a sitting alderman without raising her voice or breaking her stride. No flattery, no filler. Just clean transactional language with a side of presence. Not a ribbon girl like I thought earlier. She was built for leverage. Nathan found me again near one of those towering fake marble pillars. His smile was tight, but his suit was perfect. "You could have told me you were coming." I shrugged. "You could have called in the last 12 years. He winced, just slightly. "I tried once. Left 2 voicemails. Sent a text." "Sure," I said. "I left the state, not the planet." We stood there for a second too long. He didn't know how to end it without looking like he was retreating, so I helped him. "I'm not here to pick a fight," I said. "I'm here to be counted." He looked like he wanted to say something more but didn't. Maybe couldn't. With us, truth and positioning always ran side by side, a half-inch apart. Close enough to touch, never close enough to hold. Later, Brooke circled back. Her voice was low, her tone unchanged. "There's a packet you need to see. 19 pages. Names, flowcharts, math that doesn't wash. If you understand cost projections, you'll catch it in under 5 minutes. What's in it? Kickback patterns, bogus KPIs on social housing, backdated permits. It's all small-scale dirty, just enough to make big money look clean." I nodded. "And you kept it?" "I was on the inside when it started. Then I wasn't. No NDA covers fraud." I let that sit for a beat. "You looking to go public?" She shook her head. "Nope. Not unless someone lies again. What I want is a fair read. You strike me as someone who still knows what that means." Logan was circling the room now like a senator, touching shoulders, smiling without his eyes, pressing his voice into the corners like he still owned gravity. That used to be me, flanking him like the son who knew how to shut up and wear a tie. I remembered the day I left, him saying I was not fit for the public face of Merrick, like I was a scratch on the glass. Now I watched him try to hold the room like it was his, but it wasn't. Not completely. Not anymore. Kara saw me from across the floor. Our eyes met for half a second. She looked down first, then looked up again, then away. She was always better at silence than truth. Sloane found me again near the side exit. No music near us. Just that low ballroom hum, forks on china, heels on tile. "You okay with how this is going?" she asked. "I'm okay," I said. "I'm just not invisible anymore." She nodded once, like she understood what that actually meant. And the thing was, I think she did. She didn't try to smooth it over. Didn't drop some practiced line about family or forgiveness. Just stood there with me in the middle of it. That carried more weight than half the apologies I've heard in my life. I asked her straight, "Do you know what's inside Riverline?" She didn't blink. "I know the parts I touched, but I'm not naive. Nathan handled most of the family channels. Your dad set the frame. I built from what I had. Fair," I said, "but fair doesn't mean clean." She nodded again, slower. "If you've got something I should see, I'll see it. I don't babysit my husband's blind spots." That got my respect. Brooke passed behind us with a look that said she'd been watching long enough to know who was bluffing and who wasn't. She gave me a nod that felt like a transaction, and a warning. This wasn't going to be simple, but it was going to be honest, or I wasn't staying. I pulled out my phone and texted Brooke one word. "Packet?" She wrote back in less than 30 seconds. I'll bring it to coat check. Black folder. Don't make me regret this. That was the moment I knew we weren't just talking grudges. We were talking leverage, and I was ready to play. The mic cracked like it didn't want to cooperate. The MC tapped it twice, then smiled into the crowd like he was warming up a donor event. "If I can have your attention for just a few moments," he said, drawing the room quiet with that tone people use when the real money's about to talk. Logan stepped forward holding a glass of champagne, silver cufflinks catching light. His face was set to corporate mode, easy confidence, shoulders back, tie straight. A pose I'd seen for decades. Boardroom Logan. The man who could sell a landfill to a city council with a handshake and a PowerPoint. "Family," he started, voice deep and smooth. "Excellence. Legacy." I could have written the speech myself. He ran through Nathan's dedication to the Merrick vision, praised Sloane's precision and grace, talked about how proud he was of the alignment between families and futures. Not once did my name come up, not even a sideways mention. I didn't expect much, but I'll admit, the heat still crept up my neck. Same burn I got the night he told me I wasn't a brand asset, like I was just a dented sign someone forgot to toss. I set my glass down, breathed in slow. I wasn't 18. I wasn't here to earn applause. I was here to be counted. The MC came back up and said, "We'd now like to open the floor for toasts. Family, friends. If you have a few words, now's your chance." I didn't move right away. Let 2 or 3 minor players go first, an uncle with a rehearsed joke, Sloane's cousin who cried too early in the sentence. Then I stepped up. I kept it short. To 2 people who look each other in the eye. That's rarer than it should be. Cheers. A few guests clapped because it was safe. A couple clapped because it landed. I didn't wait around for more. I handed the mic back and stepped off. Then Samantha Danner stood. She didn't wait for the MC, didn't wait for permission, didn't raise her voice either. "I like results," she said, and her tone did more to freeze the room than anything all night. She looked straight at Logan, then at me. "I also like plain dealing." She didn't pause for drama. Danner Properties is launching a pilot program targeting mid-market infill sites, projects that actually serve the city, not just the skyline. She let that sink in, then dropped the rest like a stone. Merrick Stratlab will advise on structure and community benefit scoring. The room changed. You could feel it, like someone cracked a window in a room that had been holding its breath too long. Logan blinked once, fast, like a camera flash, then recovered with a plastic smile he'd trained into his face over 30 years. He didn't clap. His mouth moved like he wanted to, but his hands stayed still. 20 feet away, Kara had started clapping, then stopped. I watched her eyes shift toward Logan, unsure whether to keep going. Nathan froze. Just a breath. Just long enough for it to register that the spotlight had shifted. Then he put on the TV smile again, the one that hides 1,000 insecurities, and turned toward the guests like this was all planned. Sloane didn't flinch. She just reached for his hand and held it. Not soft, not for show, just steady. And then I saw it. Samantha giving her daughter a small nod. Not a signal, more like a handoff. Tyler was already at my elbow, fast and calm like always. "Congratulations," he said under his breath, then slid a printed card into my hand. It had Danner HQ printed at the top, the date, and a room number, 24th floor, Tuesday, 8:30 sharp. I slipped it into my pocket without a word. He disappeared just as quickly. That's when I noticed the sound in the room had changed. No more idle clinks, no more polite murmurs. People were recalculating, running new math. The guy they didn't recognize, the twin who vanished, he wasn't just back, he was in. You could hear the whisper line shifting. "Who is that?" turned into, "He built that?" I didn't take satisfaction. Not yet. This wasn't justice. This was oxygen. Logan didn't sit down. He stepped right back up and took the mic again like he needed to patch a hole before it got wider. "I'd like to add a second toast," he said. face still tight but voice trying to sound breezy, to partnerships that respect history, to the stewardship of the Riverline corridor, and to working with respected partners who value long-term vision. It was the kind of phrasing you use when you're trying to retake a room. But the current had already shifted. I didn't stare him down, didn't smirk. I just stood where I was, glass still on the table, letting the fact of it settle like a stamp on a contract. I was in the room, in the record. Not just a placeholder or a family footnote. Logan could do his cleanup speech. He could talk stewardship and legacy all he wanted. But that night, in that room, someone else had claimed first chair on a deal that mattered. And it wasn't him. Behind me, someone whispered something about Strat Lab. I caught the word advisory. Someone else said, didn't even know he was still around. I didn't turn. I didn't need to. This wasn't about revenge. Not really. It was about finally being seen, without needing to throw a punch to get there. Nathan caught my eye, gave me a nod that could have meant a dozen things. Respect, confusion, maybe relief. Sloane watched the room like she was still calculating angles. She caught my eye for half a second, then turned back toward the guests with her usual calm. If she was surprised by the announcement, she didn't show it. I'd bet good money she already knew it was coming. People were still applauding when I stepped away. I didn't want to bask in it. I just wanted it logged. I had a seat now, name on paper, role in motion, and Logan, he'd have to live with that. I hadn't even made it to the dessert table when Sloane appeared in front of me like a summons. Her face was steady, but her eyes told me this wasn't a social chat. She nodded toward a hallway off the ballroom. 5 minutes, she said. The hall was narrow, quiet, lined with framed photos of Riverton through the decades, riverboats, ribbon cuttings, smiling mayors. She stopped near a door marked Staff Only and turned to face me. Are you here to pull a pin? She asked, arms crossed. No, I said. I'm here to pull the cover back. Her mouth twitched. That's almost worse. Before I could answer, Nathan showed up, tie loose, breath uneven like he'd run. What's going on? He asked. Sloane didn't look at him. You tell me. He was running hot, trying to sound calm and failing. Dad needs stability on Riverline, he said, voice climbing. He's under pressure. That line stopped me. It was the most honest thing I'd heard from him in 6 years. I leaned back against the wall. What kind of pressure are we talking about? Lenders, he said. Timelines. City Council's been leaning in about the environmental side. He stretched. Sloane didn't deny any of it. She just said, he built it that way. Nathan sighed hard, pinched the bridge of his nose and said, I only sent Dad the deck because... Then he froze. Sloane's head turned slowly toward him. You sent him what? He blinked. Nothing big. Just a summary. Market notes. Nothing proprietary? I asked. He shook his head, too fast. Sloane's tone went from cool to surgical. You didn't tell me. He didn't answer right away, and that silence told us everything. I kept my voice level. You leaked her data to Logan? Nathan looked at me like a kid caught holding the wrong report card. I was trying to keep him informed. He's still Dad. He has equity in Riverline. He'd have found it anyway. Sloane's jaw tightened. That's not the point. You went around me. I watched her, and for the first time that night, I saw what Nathan was up against. She wasn't angry because of ego. She was angry because he'd broken structure. In her world, chain of custody mattered more than family feelings. I didn't yell, didn't throw the word betrayal around. I just filed it away. Reverse leak, straight up the bloodline. Not from Sloane, from Nathan, trying to please our father like it was still 10th grade. That's not villainy. That's habit and fear, but it's still a problem. I looked at both of them. If I stay in this, there's a line. You cross it, I'm gone. If I'm in, we do this clean. No shadows, no side reports to Logan. Sloane nodded immediately. Clean. Nathan nodded slower, eyes down. Then we start over, I said. Right now. Sloane exhaled through her nose and gave me a quick, almost reluctant grin. You really think you can untangle this mess? I think I can at least keep it honest, I said. That's a start. She glanced at her watch. Then do it fast. My mother's already moving the chessboard. We broke apart just as a waiter passed by carrying another round of champagne. I stepped out into the main corridor and spotted Brooke near the coat check, black folder tucked under her arm. She saw me and came straight over. You look like a man who just got a surprise, she said. You could say that, I told her. She handed over the folder. Slim, precise, heavy enough to mean something. Here's your proof, she said. 19 pages, kickback chains on Riverline permits, fake occupancy projections, a whole ESG tranche inflated with recycled data, every line dated, signed, and tied to initials. I flipped it open, just enough to see the layout. It was clean, color-coded, organized, detailed down to the decimal. The kind of file you don't compile unless you've lived in the system. I looked at her. What do you want out of this? Not money, she said immediately. I want my name clean. If this goes to the board or the press, it can't lead back to me. I'm done being someone else's cleanup crew. Logan used you? I asked. She nodded once. Used my models, my projections, then scrubbed my name and gave the credit to a junior who'd repeat the company line. He called it a realignment of optics. I called it fraud. I didn't argue. I'd seen the same play before. Different year, same handwriting. I slid the folder into my jacket and met her eyes. I won't promise revenge, I said. I'll promise a fair read. That's all I want, she said. Fair warning, I added. If this opens up the wrong door, it won't stop at Logan. She shrugged. I'm counting on that. Then she turned, blending into the crowd again like someone clocking out of a long shift. I stood there a moment, hand in my jacket, feeling the weight of those 19 pages like a loaded tool. The air in the ballroom felt heavier now, the music a little too smooth, the laughter a little too practiced. Logan was at the center again, laughing too loudly with a councilman I knew by reputation. The man didn't laugh often, and certainly not like that. Whatever Logan was saying, it was theater. He was covering ground he could feel shifting beneath him. Kara stood off to the side, one hand on her purse, face frozen into that polite smile she'd worn my entire childhood. She looked at him, then away, then back again. A full minute passed before she rejoined him, a shadow trying to stay attached to a body that kept moving. I turned toward the doors, running the numbers in my head. Riverline, kickbacks, lenders, timelines, Nathan's accidental leak, Brooke's proof, Sloane's quiet fury. All of it pointed in the same direction, toward Logan's idea of stability. That word had always meant control in his mouth. But tonight the balance had shifted. He just didn't know it yet. And I wasn't going to tell him. Not until I had every page read, every name traced, and every number squared against the truth. The kind of truth you can hand someone in a boardroom and say, this is the cost of your empire. The 24th floor of Danner Properties looked like someone built a spaceship out of glass and anchored it to the skyline just to prove they could. You could see half the river bend from the elevator lobby. No walls, no partitions, just angles, light, and silence that carried weight. Tyler met me at the front desk and walked me to a corner room without asking who I was. The man didn't do chatter. He opened the door, nodded once, and left me to it. Samantha was already seated at the head of the table. Sloane stood behind her, arms crossed, not defensive, just locked in. That stance told me she knew this wasn't a brainstorm session. Do you know what you got dropped into last night? Samantha said before I even sat down. I know what I saw, I answered, and I know what I won't guess at. She gave the smallest nod like she appreciated I hadn't come to bluff. Nathan arrived 5 minutes late, slightly out of breath, shirt wrinkled near the hem like he'd dressed in the elevator. That told me more about his state of mind than anything he was about to say. Samantha got to it fast. There's a leak, she said. I don't run witch hunts, I run audits. Then she turned to Nathan. Only Nathan. If it's you, say it now. You could hear him swallow. His voice came out smaller than it should have. It was me. He didn't dodge it. Didn't pin it on Sloan or spin some half-logic about Dad needing context. He just took it. Sloan didn't react big. She looked at him long enough to make her point, then said, "Then you fix it." That's when I laid my terms on the table. If I help stabilize Riverline, keep the lenders off your neck, and get the permits back into compliance, I want 3 things. First, a signed compliance policy. Anyone with a key card signs it. No loopholes. Second, I want a joint review of every Riverline file from permits to invoices. Third, Logan stands in front of the staff and apologizes. Public, recorded, no disclaimers. The culture he built, he owns it. Sloan didn't blink. Samantha looked at me like I'd passed a test most men fail. Nathan looked like a man who just got told adulthood comes with clauses. Then Samantha added one more clause of her own. If Nathan wants to be part of this company's future, he moves out of PR and into ops. For 1 full year, no panels, no photos, real work. She looked to Sloan. Agreed? Sloan nodded. That's the deal. Nobody pushed back. My phone buzzed in my pocket at 10:14. I ignored it. Then it buzzed again. Same number. I glanced down. Kara. I hadn't seen that number flash on my screen in over 12 years. "Excuse me," I said, and stepped into the hall. I answered with one word. "Yeah?" Her voice came thin, like it had been scraped against a wall. "It's your father. Stonemere Private. They said cardiac event. He's stable, but they're asking for you." I didn't say anything for a second. "He's asking for you, Dylan," she said again. "He's scared." That broke something sideways in my brain. The man who built an empire on fear, now asking for the one son he never wanted in the room. I walked back in. "Logan's in Stonemere. Heart issue. I'm going." Samantha didn't flinch. "Go," she said. "Tyler will hold your slot." I nodded once. "Thank you." It took me under 20 minutes to get to the hospital. Stonemere looked like a luxury hotel disguised as a recovery center. Polished floors, brushed steel, the air thick with lemon cleaner and expensive silence. I found Kara and Nathan in matching chairs near a glass divider, both of them looking like they'd been called to the principal's office and didn't know which one of them was in trouble. Kara stood up too fast. Her purse hit the floor, and she didn't even notice. "He's asking for you," she said. Her voice cracked halfway through it. He's scared, Dylan." Nathan stood but didn't speak. He just nodded at the nurse down the hall like he didn't trust himself to be the one allowed in. A nurse stepped out from behind a privacy curtain. "You have 8 minutes," she said. "Alone." He's alert, but weak. "Eight's plenty," I said. I walked down the hall with something between resolve and resentment coiled behind my ribs. Because here's the truth. When the man who raised you like an intern suddenly asks for you from a hospital bed, part of you wants to run. The other part wants answers. I chose the second part. He was already hooked up when I stepped in. 1 IV, 1 monitor. Oxygen clipped to his nose. He looked small, like his bones had retreated under his skin. His eyes found me, slow and searching. Then he gave me that broken smile version of his old sarcasm. 7 minutes late, he said, voice thin. As usual. I pulled the chair up beside him and sat. "You wanted me here. I'm here." He didn't try to defend anything. That shocked me more than the tubes. "I built a room full of mirrors," he said after a few breaths. Then I got mad at the reflections. I leaned forward. "If you live, you stand in front of your staff and admit it. Not about Riverline. About how you treated people, me included. On mic, no edits." He nodded once. Slow. "You think that fixes anything?" he asked. "No," I said. "But it starts it." He turned his head toward the window like he was trying to see past it. "I told Nathan to send me the deck," he admitted. Told him it was his duty to keep me informed. I made him into my echo. He didn't say it to get a pass. He said it because it was true. Cleanup's not leadership, I told him. You taught him how to lie for you and called it loyalty. He didn't argue, just closed his eyes for a second. I pulled the black folder from my jacket and set it on the blanket. This exists, I said. 19 pages, kickbacks, inflated KPIs. If I leak this to a city desk, you don't last the week. His eyes opened again, looked at the folder. And you came here to get me to sign a confession? No, I said. I came to give you a way to be a man about it. He didn't speak. He just stared at the cover like it was his own tombstone. After a long silence, he said, I owe you more than I can say. It's not about me, I told him. It's about stopping the bleed before the whole thing collapses. He nodded again. His eyes looked older than I'd ever seen them. Outside, the lights were starting to flicker on across the skyline. I stood up, folder still on the blanket. You've got 8 minutes with every person in that company now. Use them. He didn't stop me. I stepped out, back into the hallway that still smelled like lemon and varnish. Kara was pacing now, box in her arms. Nathan sat, elbows on knees. Kara walked toward me and opened the box without a word. Inside were crayon cards, old paper rockets, and a Polaroid of 2 boys in crooked ties. I kept them, she said, tears silent. I just didn't know how to hand any of this back. I took the box. Didn't say anything noble, just one word. Okay. Then I walked out of that hospital with the past in a cardboard box and the future in a folder, and both of them felt heavier than they should have. The nurse held the door for me with a nod like this was some normal errand, like I was just visiting a colleague who'd forgotten a meeting. But the second I stepped into that room, the weight hit. Logan looked smaller than I thought possible, like someone had deflated him from the inside. Tubes in his arms, monitor beeping slow, color gone from his face. He looked like a man whose best lie had finally stopped working. His eyes opened, struggled to focus. Took a second to place me. 7 minutes late, he said, voice brittle. As usual. I pulled the chair closer, kept my hands on my knees. You wanted me here. I'm here. He didn't launch into a speech. Didn't dress up the moment with legacy lines or boardroom talk. That surprised me. I built a house with mirrors, he said, each word slower than the last. Then I got mad at the reflections. It was a strange sentence coming from him, but I understood it. Maybe too well. I looked straight at him. If you live, I said, you stand in front of your staff and say you were wrong. Not about a project, about how you treated people. Me included. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't have to. The room was already listening. He nodded once, like a man who had finally run out of defenses. You think that fixes it? He asked. No, I said. But it starts it. He turned his head slightly toward the window, though there was nothing to look at but blinds and blue sky. I told Nathan to keep me fed, he said. Told him it was his duty. I made him into my echo. That's what I taught him. That landed like a punch. Hearing a man admit he hollowed out his own son for optics, there's no easy way to sit with that. He didn't want to, Logan added, softer now. I pushed, threatened to ice him out of the board. You made him choose between truth and proximity, I said. I made him choose between being seen and being safe, he replied. For a man who spent his life selling confidence like it was currency, he sounded like someone who finally figured out what all that cost. He let his eyes close for a second. I told him this morning, 6 sharp, no more sending me anything. I said I'd fix what I could. That's not leadership, I said. That's cleanup. He didn't argue. I reached into my jacket, pulled out the slim black folder, and set it on the blanket. This exists, I said. 19 pages, kickbacks, buried KPIs, shell vendors. Brooke gave it to me. If I throw it to a city desk, you're finished by Friday. He stared at the folder, didn't touch it, just kept looking like it might open on its own. And you came here to ask me to sign my own confession? I shook my head. I came to give you a way to be a man about it. One shot. No spin. He shut his eyes again, this time longer. His breathing sounded rougher now. I owe you more than I can say, he said finally. It's not about owing me, I said. It's about stopping the bleed, in your company, in this family, in a city that's starting to smell it. He opened his eyes and met mine. You always had a mind for the real cost, he said. I just never let you show it. You didn't have to, I said. I showed it anyway. You just refused to see it. The machine beeped a little faster, like the room itself had started paying attention. I'll do the apology, he said. Public, no spin. If I walk out of here, I'll face the room. I didn't thank him. I just said, good. Then I stood and tapped the folder once. You read that, and then you sit with what you did to people who trusted you. He nodded. I will. I turned to leave, then stopped halfway to the door. One more thing. He looked up, waiting. You need to let Nathan do the work, I said. Not chase your approval, not act as your back channel. If he's going to earn anything real, he needs to stand separate from your shadow. He's got Sloane, Logan said. Yeah, I said, and she's not going to cover for him. He almost smiled at that. Not quite. I left the room with the folder still on his blanket. That was on purpose. Some weights need to be held by the person who created them. Outside, the hallway felt colder. Kara sat in the waiting room, holding a shoebox like it was glass. Nathan stood beside her, shifting his weight between his feet like a kid about to get called into the principal's office. Kara saw me and stood quickly. The box shook in her hands. I found this last night, she said. I meant to throw it away. Couldn't. She lifted the lid and held it open. Inside were memories I hadn't touched in decades, crayon cards that said Happy Father's Day in block letters, folded paper rockets with crooked wings, and one Polaroid of me and Nathan in clip-on ties, sitting on our stoop with ice cream stains on our collars. I kept them, she said. Her voice broke in places I'd never heard before. I just never knew how to hand any of this back. I didn't say anything long, didn't unpack the years in a speech. That's not me. Okay, I said, and slid the stack into my briefcase. Some receipts, you don't file. You keep them for yourself, the kind you pull out years later just to remind yourself what was real. I gave Kara a nod. She gave me a look like she was holding a thank you behind her eyes. Nathan didn't say anything, just walked back toward the hallway without looking over his shoulder. Whatever happened next with Logan, press, partners, public fallout, that was up to him. But I'd done my 8 minutes, and I made them count. Brooke and I met at the quarry room just after 8. Back table, no music, low lighting. The kind of place where deals get made between courses. She was already there when I walked in, folder out, eyes sharp. No small talk, just work. She laid the packet on the table and started flipping pages like she was counting cards. Initials match vendor payments, she said, tapping the first sheet. Dates line up with permit fast tracks. See that margin note? Sloane questioned that permit in her internal memo last quarter. Never made it to the board. She turned to the next one. ESG claims here are smoke. They listed an affordable unit count that doesn't exist. The numbers don't support the sustainability credit they claimed. No double check, just air. I let her go until the last page. Then I leaned back. If we go public with this, it's a complete public collapse, I said. No river line, no bridge building, no slow fix. It all goes up. She nodded, didn't flinch. And if we go structured? It's a turnaround with teeth. We bleed out the bad, put in the systems, keep the build alive. Public trust stays salvageable. Brooke watched me, reading between lines. You think Samantha's willing to back a joint fix? She's not backing optics, I said. She's backing structure. That's where we come in. I laid out the plan. MUP Danner Renewal, Merrick Urban Partners and Danner, Public Joint Initiative. Deliverables within year one. One rehabbed school on Pierce Avenue, one riverfront square before fall, all tracked through a live dashboard. Real numbers, real third-party audit. Brooke leaned in. No equity split? No equity, I said. StratLab stays advisory, no side deals. We keep it clean or we don't do it. And Riverline? We phase it. Cut the vanity tower, they can't defend it. Keep the mixed use that pencils. Anything tied to dirty permits gets paused and rebid under a monitor. She nodded slowly, flipping back to the ESG page. You're cutting deep. Anything less and we're doing PR, not repair. Brooke set her drink down. I can live with that. But if this turns into another quiet rug pull where nothing changes, I'm lighting it all up myself. Fair, I said. That's the trade. I texted Tyler mid-meal. Need a calendar lane for Friday? Samantha plus Sloan, plus Nathan plus me. He replied in under 60 seconds. Friday, 7:45 in the morning, Danner HQ, Logan condition. I typed, Town Hall Monday, 9 sharp, public. He sent one word back. Logged. Dev, my lead analyst, pinged me as we were leaving. He flagged a side thread I hadn't fully tracked. Councilman Harlan Caldwell had been circling Riverline's zoning changes for months. He was getting louder in planning committee notes, asking for documents nobody else cared about. Brooke caught the name and raised an eyebrow. You think Caldwell knows what's in the file? No, I said, but I think he smells blood. We spun up a transparency microsite overnight. Full Riverline permit history, vendor list, compliance language, timeline shifts, no frills, no quotes. A dashboard for daylight, before Caldwell forced one on us with subpoenas and press leaks. Sloan called that night, late enough it felt personal. I want Nathan to have a real shot at earning something, she said. Not just hold a title because he married into structure. He signs the compliance policy, I said, and moves into ops. That's the line. He knows, she said. If he won't, we're done, and I mean it. I back that, I told her. All the way. She didn't say thanks. She didn't need to. At 7:12 the next morning, my phone buzzed. Logan. Text only. Town hall confirmed. No spin. I took a screenshot. You don't get many moments when a man who spent 4 decades curating his image chooses the opposite. Friday morning's meeting ran like a drill team. Samantha opened with numbers. Sloan followed with community metrics. I came in with the frame. Renewal isn't window dressing, I said. It's structural. We tie every dollar to a deliverable. Public accountability, zero filter. You want trust back? You earn it with receipts. Nathan was quiet at first. He had a yellow legal pad with notes, but he barely looked at them. When his turn came, he didn't dress it up. I'll move into ops, he said. Full shift. No ribbon cuttings, no press, just field work. You could see it in his face, the death of something soft, and the birth of something better. Sloan nodded like she'd seen what she needed. Then she asked the question that stayed with me. When a thing goes right, who gets the credit? Us or the community partners? The partners, I said. Always. She gave a small smile. Nothing performative, just approval. Brooke cleared her throat. One condition. Everyone turned to her. I want my name off the packet. I mean completely. If this goes public, I'm not the face. He burned me once with Hush. I won't be the scapegoat when the paper hits. I get that, I said. You have my word. Tyler started drafting the clause right there at the table. No one interrupted. That mattered. Meeting ended with signatures, task lanes, and a file drop on the rebid schedule. The energy was clean, tense, but clean. On my way out, Tyler caught me near the elevator and handed me something folded, a printout of the wedding seating chart. My name scratched out from table 4, moved to 19, inked in blue pen. You kept this? I asked. He shrugged. Some things are worth logging. I slipped it into my folder, not because I needed proof, because some receipts are reminders, not of what they did, but of what we survived. And this was the real beginning, not of revenge, but of the rebuild. At 9:03 sharp, the atrium at Merrick Urban Partners was full. Employees lined every tiered balcony, phones raised, faces set. HR stood off to the side, already regretting their coffee. Legal had shown up early and looked like they'd rather be anywhere else. The mood wasn't tense. It was deliberately calm. People weren't here for curiosity. They were here for proof. I stood behind a column on the second floor, close enough to see Logan's hands. I wanted to see if they shook. They didn't. He stepped up to the center platform with no papers, no handlers, no notes. Just a mic and a room full of people who'd watched him run this place like a performance for 30 years. He looked out at them all, took one breath, and said it. I failed you. Just like that. Not padded, not qualified. He let the words sit. Then he spoke the rest. He talked about the pressure he built and passed down like inheritance. The obsession with polish. The culture that made fear feel like a performance review. He didn't say corporate climate or brand integrity. He said, I made this place harder than it had to be. He talked about the harm it caused, to trust, to work, to both his sons. And then he said the thing no one expected. I'm sorry. No if, no but, no damage control woven into the back half of the sentence. I've sat through 100 non-apologies in my career, statements dressed up like accountability, but meant to dodge it. This wasn't one. He stepped back. He didn't cry. He didn't pose. He just moved to the center table, took a pen, and signed the compliance policy in full view of 300 staff and 3 live stream cameras. HR uploaded the file by noon, vendor rebid timelines, whistleblower protections, quarterly audit requirements. It wasn't performative. It was systemic. Then Nathan stepped forward. He didn't bring a folder or a script, just himself. His tie was crooked. His voice wasn't polished, but he showed up. I fed my dad information because I wanted to be the one who could fix things, he said. I wanted him to think I was the one keeping it together. No one said a word. I hurt my wife. I let my team down. I went around people who were building something real because I thought shortcuts looked like leadership. They don't. He looked up and didn't blink. I'm moving into operations today. If you need me, I'll be in the trailers with the rebid crew. No applause. But that wasn't the point. He walked off the platform and straight through the crowd without flinching. Sloane was standing near the atrium wall, and when he passed her, she put a hand on his shoulder. That was it. But it meant everything. At 11:06, Councilman Caldwell's office sent over the letter. 3 pages of phrased-up heat, threats of subpoena, ethics committee buzzwords, references to unverified financial pathways. Expected. We fired back by 11:13 with one link. The microsite. Permit history. Financials. Vendor logs. Audit commitments. And a line at the bottom. Councilman Caldwell is welcome to walk the files anytime. We've already cleared a room. He accepted. Scheduled for Thursday. Transparency beats panic every time. At the back of the atrium, arms crossed, was Samantha. She didn't say a word during any of it. Just watched the same man she'd battled for contracts. Watched him own his mess with no spin. When it ended and the crowd started to thin, she caught my eye and gave one hard nod. Not praise, not forgiveness, just acknowledgement. That was enough. At 2:30, one of Logan's old lieutenants, Victor Hall, made a move. He emailed a spreadsheet to a local blogger, trying to make it look like Danner cooked the Riverline data. We caught it by 4. Brooke had tagged the checksum on that spreadsheet weeks ago. Quiet flag in the metadata. Once the blogger posted it, our system caught the tag on the mirror file and traced the origin. Victor had sent it from a personal account, but the file trail was clean. We had it traced, time-stamped, and verified by 420. Legal asked what to do. Samantha said one thing: don't delay it. Victor resigned at 4:30. Internal memo only. No PR save. Brooke never came up in the story. Not once. I sent her a 2-word text. You're clean. She sent one back. So are you. That hit harder than I thought it would. The kind of quiet sentence that doesn't try to be a moment, just is one. I stepped outside that night and leaned against the back wall of the atrium. Didn't light a cigarette, didn't call anyone. Just stood there while the city moved like it always had, pretending it didn't just see something rare, an empire shift without anyone starting a fire. Sometimes justice isn't a fist. It's a mic, a folder, and a man finally saying what everyone else lived through. And on that Monday morning, for the first time in a long time, Merrick wasn't just a name on a tower. It was a place where truth got said and logged. 2 weeks out, we dropped the press release. No ribbon, no mission statement stuffed with buzzwords, just a headline: MUP Danner renewal, Phase 1 3-year slate, $4.7 million, deliverables public, metrics tracked. We didn't wait for applause, we went to work. The Pierce Avenue school rehab went up first. New HVAC, roof replacement, ADA-compliant access, plus a full kitchen for the after-school program that used to run on boxed snacks and broken microwaves. Behind the old canning plant, we started pouring concrete for the river square. We didn't hire a celebrity planner. We hired local, and we asked the kids at Parker Middle what they wanted. Turned out it was benches that didn't burn your legs in the summer and lights that didn't flicker. We gave them that. The third project was a walkway near the commuter line, previously known for 2 things: ankle injuries and lawsuits. We widened it, leveled it, added proper drainage, and built it like we actually cared whether people made it home in one piece. I pushed for a dashboard that spoke plain English, not some consultant-speak spreadsheet. Simple status bars, money, schedule, local labor percentage, and how many change orders we'd approved. If a date slipped, it turned orange. If we blew a commitment, it turned red. No spin. No quotes from a fake spokesperson named Morgan in PR. Logan took a chair-only role. No signatures, no site walks, no closed door anything. He came to 3 meetings total, said nothing, took notes. At first I thought it was performative, but then I realized he was trying to learn how to listen at 63 years old. I let him. Kara showed up to my office on a Thursday afternoon with a paper bag and the shoebox pictures in real frames. I brought lunch, she said. And these. She didn't say she was sorry. She didn't list excuses. Just set the sandwich on my desk and added, "If you want Sunday dinner, I'll cook." I looked at the photos. Me and Nathan in clip-ons. Crayon drawings with impossible hands. Paper rockets with one fin always missing. "Dinner sounds good," I said. Nathan worked in steel-toe boots now. He stopped wearing those fake leather loafers that looked expensive but pinched. Sloan didn't spare him when the ops reports came in late. She called it out in front of the team. He took it. Didn't sulk, didn't spin. Just fixed the numbers and moved on. From what I gathered, they were in couples counseling. Weekly. Not hiding it. Not oversharing either. That's grown-up business. Tyler became the hinge between 2 companies that used to treat each other like opposing teams. He kept people honest. Calendars, follow-ups, site times. One morning over coffee, he looked at me across the conference table and said, "You know Samantha liked you before the pilot, right?" I raised an eyebrow. "She saw your name on the StratLab scholarship list," he said. "The one you hid. You helped fund a summer program in West Grove. Never took credit." I didn't answer. Some things you don't shine a light on. You just do them and walk away. Caldwell came back for a photo op at the new River Square, tried to position himself as the driving force. Before he could reach the podium, we handed the mic to the after-school coach who fought us hardest on the lighting plan. She said, "This corner used to be where my kids learned to stay alert. Now they learn to breathe. Best kind of revenge. Quiet. Precise." Brooke, meanwhile, found 3 more line items in Riverline that needed scrubbing. Sloppy invoices, backdoor language in 2 of the sub-vendor contracts, and a pricing formula tied to phony zoning variance logic. She didn't email a victory note. She just sent the files and the fix. We paid her full invoice, then drove her out to the site to watch the new footing pour. She stood back, hard hat in hand, and looked up at the steel frame rising from clean concrete. "Smells different now," she said, "like a place instead of a pitch." I didn't say much, just nodded and stood next to her in the cold, watching it rise. 1 week later, Kara came by again. No food this time, just a card. She handed it to me folded. I opened it. Inside was a crooked drawing of a tie and a heart. "To Dad, Logan," it said, written by a 4th-grade version of me, who wasn't sure which word to use, so he used both. I set it on my shelf. Not for him. For me. Because sometimes the old stuff isn't there to haunt you. It's there to remind you what you survived. The day the Pierce Avenue school got its new roof, Samantha showed up in heels, walked the tar line like she was inspecting a battleship. She squinted up at the sky, then turned to me and said, "Ugly work makes beautiful cities. Don't let anyone sell you the reverse." That line stuck. We weren't doing image anymore. We were doing work. It was just past 6:50 when I parked across from the 2-flat. Brick, clean lines, a porch light already on. Sloane's text had been short. 7 o'clock, just dinner. But it felt like more. I brought ice and a warm loaf of bread from the market by the underpass. Still smelled like yeast and sesame. No fanfare, no catering. That already told me what kind of night it was. Nathan opened the door wearing a ball cap like he was trying to remember what casual looked like. "Hey," he said, then pulled me into one of those stiff brother hugs. 2 firm slaps on the back, just enough pressure to mean something. Inside, the kitchen buzzed in a way that didn't feel staged. Kara stood over the stove, poking at a roast and telling Sloane, "It rests itself. Don't fuss with it." Sloane just nodded, sipping a glass of wine, eyes flicking to the oven clock. She caught me watching and said, "You're right on time. That's terrifying." Logan came in last, holding a salad bowl like he'd been sent out for it, and didn't quite trust himself to carry it right. He looked thinner. Not sick, just lighter. Like he'd finally exhaled something he'd been holding for years. Tyler knocked twice and walked in with a bottle of red. Said Samantha found it in a closet, which I translated to, she wanted this night to land clean. He helped move 2 chairs into the dining room, clinked glasses during the toast, and ghosted before dessert. The man understood timing. Brooke showed up last. She had crane dust on her sleeves and boots that said she'd been somewhere real. Washed her hands at the sink, laughed with Sloane about steel deliveries, then sat across from me like we'd done this 100 times. We kept it simple. Roasted vegetables, meat that's sliced easy, 2 kinds of potatoes because Kara couldn't choose. Nobody mentioned brands or board votes. At one point, Nathan asked me, "What was senior year like for you?" I chewed, swallowed, and said, "Looking back, I probably knew then." He nodded. "Yeah, me too." We didn't explain further. That was enough. Halfway through the pie, store-bought, nobody cared. Logan cleared his throat. "I don't have a speech," he said, "and I'm not going to pretend I get to make a grand gesture. But I can say this. I can't pay back 14 years. I can try to be decent for the next 14. I looked at him, let the silence hang, then said, "Do the work." He didn't defend. He just nodded. "I will." After dishes, Sloane took Nathan's hand and said, "I'm proud of you. Not because you're perfect, because you show up in ops every day, even when no one's filming." He didn't laugh it off. Just said, "Thanks," and squeezed her hand back. Brooke and I walked out together, the porch light clicking on above us. Cool night, sky clear. Light from the river slid between buildings like it had nowhere else to be. We didn't say anything heavy. Just walked. "I've got a permitting workshop in St. Louis tomorrow," she said. "I've got a lender breakfast at 7:30, I said. "Their eggs always suck." She laughed, the kind that came from somewhere low and honest, At the curb, she turned to me. So what do you actually want? Long term? I didn't think too hard about it. A city that runs on value, not veneers. A family that tells the truth more than once a year. Someone to split takeout with after a long day. She smiled, not wide, just enough. We can test that third one, she said. I'm 58 now, writing this down. That night didn't end like a movie. No perfect bow, no big swelling moment. But it stuck. A father learning to say I was wrong. A brother earning his place the slow way. A woman at my side who doesn't do gray. And me. Finally, not the background. 2 days later, we dropped an update on the renewal dashboard. School roof done. Map of the new trees going in by October. That's the kind of revenge I'll take every time. Not a wrecking ball. A rebuild that sticks. When my name shows up in the paper now, Dad texts a thumbs up emoji and nothing else. It's enough. Before you head out, can I ask you something personal? If someone who hurt you finally owned it, really stood up and said, I was wrong, would you let them back in? Even a little? If this story hit something real for you, tap the hype button to help it reach more people. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe and give it a like. It matters more than you think. Drop a comment too, even just good story or what part stuck with you. I'd really like to hear it. Love you guys.
YouTube picked this for you. Tap it. Let's see if they guessed right.